Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the DLC of the Crown of the Old Iron King. We finally managed to get the wedge to activate all the levers and bring fire and power back into this great tower, this great castle. So this should open up quite a number of different places for us to go visit. It calls upon a lot of exploration now, but we are drawing also closer towards the end of the DLC. I think this will be the last big chunk of an episode, in the sense that this is the time I'll do the final bits of exploration. This is the time when I will get all the things that need to be got and hopefully finish off the DLC as a whole. It's kind of been interesting so far, to be honest with you. The story about when we're talking about the Sword of Artorias, the story about Nadalia so far is really intriguing, and the parallels we drew upon in terms of time and Gwyn and the Old Iron King and Icarus Earth. So right now, I guess I'm gonna talk about a few things, but just before I actually do, I just wanna say that yes, I am aware of the fact that Lords of the Fallen will be coming out soon, just under a week, and yes, I will be playing the game. I already have it. I'm just waiting for it to be released, and then I can do the download on Steam. But to be honest with you, I've seen a lot of the preview videos in terms of the preview builds that were given to a lot of YouTubers and streamers by Namco. Yes, these are popular people amongst Twitch and YouTube, and of course they of course have their own different perspectives of the game. But one thing I noticed is that the devs gave the game previews to people who had experience with Dark Souls. So to me it feels as if they wanted it to be contrasted upon Dark Souls, and then so people can see the difference between the two games. I honestly don't know if that's actually a good idea, because I wish that they gave some of the preview builds to people. Of course, probably they did, but the most famous videos, or the videos that I've been exposed to, were mostly from people who've had experience with Dark Souls and people who have like an opinion to say about Dark Souls and stuff like that. So to be honest with you, I kind of wish that they also gave some of the preview builds, or at least even if they did, I wish that they gave some airtime to the people who did not play Dark Souls, because I'd really like to see how someone who never liked Dark Souls, or someone who was never interested in Dark Souls, their opinion about the game. Because to me, someone's first impression of a different playstyle, their first impression of a different genre of games, usually defines that genre for that person. So for example, someone like me, let's just say I play sports games, right? And I like playing FIFA, for example, FIFA being a soccer game. And then all of a sudden you say, here, please try this new soccer game. It's not like FIFA at all. It's a different type of soccer game, but it does soccer the way soccer is in real life. You know, it's different in its own rights, but it's still the basis of soccer. And then for example, they give me a game like Winning 11 or Pro Evolution Soccer or something crazy like that. It's obvious that there will be some sense of biasness towards FIFA in its own right, in the sense that FIFA is what I like, and as much as your game may interest me, or as much as your game may do something right, I will begrudge it in the sense that I still like FIFA. So I kind of wish to see some of the impressions and thoughts and criticism from people who had never played Dark Souls, or people who never liked Dark Souls, so that you can get a more fresh, a less biased opinion about the game. But besides that, most people did talk about the game. I've read and I've listened to what most people had to say, and to be honest with you, this game so far, as much as I've heard what other people have to say, this game so far still has the same impression on me it had the first time I heard about it so many months ago. when my brother linked it to me. When my brother first linked me the game, I was like, wow, this game kind of looks interesting. It kind of reminds me, the art style kind of reminds me of something you'd see from Joe Madureira, the guy who did the art style for Darksiders, Battle Chasers, etc. The guy has a lot of artwork. The guy has been working for years and years. Joe Madureira's artwork, you can check it out yourself. I'll probably leave a comment in the description box about him, maybe just the spelling of his name so that you can Google him yourself. But Joe Mad, in short, his artwork that he did for Darksiders and Darksiders 2 to me was really, really good. I appreciated his art style within those two games. It was really nostalgic to see his art style presented in a game that I was actually going to play. You know, I was like, this is one of the artists who inspired me to start drawing, and I'm actually playing a game in his own art sense, in his own namesake, and it's quite amazing. So in that sense, the art direction, the settings and the environments, to me, kind of give me this nostalgic feel of what Joe Mad would have done, or what Joe Mad did in Darksiders and Darksiders 2. So that's one reason why I liked the game the first time I saw it, and why I actually want to play it now, the art style. Second reason is, of course, if I am interested in RPG games, especially action RPGs such as Dark Souls, Demon Souls, stuff like that, and The Witcher. But to see a game that is not Dark Souls, to see a game that is not The Witcher, because you have to understand that most action RPGs that I've played are franchises or series of games that have been ongoing for years. So I've already had their first impressions a long time ago, and now it's kind of just continuing the story and seeing how the games develop and progress, which is a good thing, but it's nothing fresh. Dark Souls 2 has different settings, different stories, different weapons, fight mechanics, but in the end, my mind still perceives it as you are playing Dark Souls. I'm still familiar with the game. I'm still familiar with the mechanics. There's nothing new. So the fact that I finally get to play a new action RPG, kind of how I felt when I first played Darksiders 1, playing this new action RPG which has nothing to do with any game you've played in your past before. This is something new, a new experience to criticize and learn from, a new experience that could be enjoyable, or a new experience that could actually be terrible and you quickly forget about it. That to me is something interesting. And like I said, the fact that Lords of the Fallen is something fresh, it's not based off any series of games that has existed, it's just something new that CI Games has developed. And it's quite interesting that it's CI Games in the sense that Thomas Gob is the guy who was one of the innovators at CD Projekt Red, who changed the direction of The Witcher. I played The Witcher 1, I enjoyed The Witcher 1, and even though I kind of understood that there were some drawbacks to The Witcher 1 in sense of there were some things that I did not like, but I understood that it was, you know, the first game of the series, there will be some mistakes. And then with The Witcher 2, there were so many improvements, I was just mind blown. It was like, yeah, The Witcher 2 was still not a perfect game, but with the way it improved on The Witcher 1, I was like, this is amazing, the team has done well, and Thomas is one of the reasons why there was this change. So that also that's also something I think about when I think of Lords of the Fallen, the first time I saw it and what I think about it now. But it still has this, I don't know, there's something about it that I still can't put my finger on, that I just don't like. Right now, like I said, they gave preview builds to a lot of important and famous YouTubers and streamers, but of course I'm neither, so I can't really give my final verdict of the game until I play it myself. So next week I will put up a first impressions video of the game, most definitely. And I might put up a tutorial video about it on the weekend, of course, just to put my first impressions within an informative video. I think that would be a good thing for anyone who's interested in either trying out the game or buying the game, because I know there is a sense of insecurity of investing in a game that you end up not liking. It's not a good idea or good decision to make. So Lords of the Fallen, I don't know. I personally want it to be great because of the fact that there won't be any Darksiders 3 anytime soon, because Joe Mad is still in charge, or still has the rights towards the art and the story, because it is his story and his artwork. But ever since THQ went bankrupt so many years ago, Vigil Games, I haven't heard anything from them, and I haven't heard of any continuation of Darksiders to make Darksiders 3. For those of you... Okay, let me just put on a spoiler alert, just in case you actually want to play Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2. I'm just going to talk about the endings of both games, and not even in details, just in general. In Darksiders 1, one of the riders of the apocalypse was framed for starting the apocalypse, the end of the world and the end of mankind. He was wrongfully done so, and towards the end, War finally showed or brought evidence towards the angels of heaven that he was not in charge, and that the council was actually very wrong. So the angels saw this. The demons already knew this, of course. That's why they wanted to kill War, so that War would be blamed for what had happened all along. But the angels now knew the truth. The demons already knew the truth, but the council was still stubborn. And then, so in the end, it was proven that it wasn't his fault, but a greater power. And then the riders of the apocalypse, the rest of them, came to aid in the final battle, but you never got to see them. But of course, the riders of the apocalypse were Strife, Fury, and Death, and they came to aid him after his final fight. And then in Darksiders 2, instead of continuing that story, they were like, okay, let's look at what Death was doing to try aid his brother, to prove his brother's innocence, because he was the one who brought doubt on the judgment of War. He was like, War would have never done this, because he had known him for such a long time. There was just no way War was responsible for what had happened, the destruction of mankind. And then towards the end of that, he proved War's innocence, and it was known that the only way to end this problem, or to end this destruction of man, was to start anew. And the only way birth can be achieved is through death. So Death sacrificed himself for the renewal of mankind. And then so we wondered to ourselves, so what's going to happen next? We know War is innocent, and Death is aiding him, and the riders are here to fight this final foe that is unknown. And then it kind of ended, then THQ went bankrupt, and that was that. So to me, Lords of the Fallen, at least it's one of those situations whereby I won't be playing Bloodborne, because I don't have a PS4, and I have no plans of ever getting one. And how else can I say this? And also, there'll never be a Darksiders 3 in any foreseeable future unless something changes, of which it would have to go into development. So that's still a long ways off. So at least I'll have something new to play. I don't know. That's just my take on it. I definitely, like I said, I will be playing the game, and we will hear more about that in the future. Hopefully, I hope that the game will be good. As much as most games fail, this is a game that I honestly don't want to fail. I hope it has staying potential, and that's one thing I see lacking in terms of replay value. It's like, yeah, it's true you can go up to New Game Plus 3 as a maximum, or New Game Plus Plus, and max out everything and get all 3 skill sets. But it's like, after that, really, what else is there? Because I'm sure, I don't know. I just hope that the community grows from the game, because only the community can make it last longer. Because yes, there is a lot of lore in the audiobooks, there is a lot of lore in the weapon descriptions and the story itself. But I hope that the game leaves at least some part of the story up to your own speculation. That way different players can have different perspectives on the story of Lords of the Fallen. And then hopefully through that people come up with different timelines. Then definitely the game will have a lot of staying power. And then I also hope that within the next couple of months, maybe next year, during the time when Bloodborne comes out or something crazy like that. It also has DLC, like how Dark Souls 2 had DLC, to kind of revamp the game. But those are just my hopes on the game. It has nothing, just my opinion, it has nothing to do with the actual playing of the game. But yeah, in general, I just hope the game will be good. So, on a different note, it seems like this old Iron King DLC has just been a post-commentary haven for me. I'm kind of glad I didn't do live commentary, because if I did live commentary, yes, it would have been fun to do, but I wouldn't have talked about all these different perspectives I have on these certain ideas and these certain topics that I've been talking to about over the past couple of episodes. So, if you think the change of pace to post commentary was good, please leave a comment, or leave a comment or like the video. Of course, that will help me a lot, as I need all the support I can get. But if you didn't like the post commentary and wanted live commentary, then please leave a comment and leave a dislike so that I know people did not like this. I like how these railings here are rotting, and the enemy there actually was able to swing. It tried to swing at me and missed, and then actually got the railing and broke it off. It's good to see destructive mechanics within Dark Souls. That's one thing I kind of wished there was a more of. As we saw when we were descending down here, there were breakable floors that I did not fall through because I was scared to die. And also here we're seeing side railings that are supposed to protect you from falling off the edge being broken by the enemies to kind of aid you in falling. So, I don't know. I hope that there'll be more of that in Bloodborne, even though I won't be playing it myself. I hope there'll be more destructive elements, enemies being able to break through walls, maybe, to get towards you. Like if you're the one who used to like circling around enemies and finding cover, then they kind of break through the cover you're using, whether you're just using a door to hide and heal up or something, or a pillar or something. Like similar to the Ornstein and Smoke boss fight, those pillars were good for cover. But Ornstein could bash them, and not Ornstein, Smoke could bash them and break them, and Ornstein could stab you through them. So such destructive mechanics throughout a game like Dark Souls would actually be very interesting for me. But yeah, besides that, now we've made it all the way down. Like I said, we got the smeltering iron wedge to activate this area. And we went down deep into the tower. The reason being, this is the place where there are more ashen idols. And I decided to do this area first because this is the Fume Knight boss area. And what happens is, if you leave any of these active, like if you walk into the Fume Knight boss fight with all ashen idols activated, if he goes near any of them, he'll get healed. So to make the boss fight easier for yourself, it is advisable to deactivate all these ashen idols around this place to make the fight just a little bit more easier. Of course, you can get summoned help to help distract him and for you to do some significant damage to him. But be warned that if you have summoned help, of course, his net HP will increase, because the more units are fighting against a boss, the more HP the boss will have. That's always something to be wary of. So I made sure I saved up my iron wedges and came here first to deactivate them, because I planned on doing this boss fight first. It is possible that if you took a different route, you come here with a depleted amount of iron wedges, and you'd have to actually make a large, very, very large detour to the very upper levels of this area to get the rest of the iron wedges. And by doing so, you'll have to fight other bosses as well. So it is it's actually not it's not so easy to do. But yeah, I just came here first because I want to kill this boss first. So hopefully in the next episode I'll be going throughout all the bosses and then taking out all the bosses one by one towards the end of the DLC. And that should wrap it up pretty much. Besides that, for those of you who I guess are asking how I am, I guess I could say I'm cool. Past couple of days have been quite busy. I've been a bit busy with school here and there, writing a few tests, so it's quite interesting to have some time to play the game. Right now I'm actually playing before heading out. Not playing before heading out, but I'm making this commentary before heading out. And so it feels good to do some live commentary while your mind is still refreshed and yet you've just woken up and everything's okay. But besides that, I honestly don't know. Lords of the Fallen is really weighing on my mind right now. But I guess it's good that these games all came out in a bunch, in a cluster like this, because now I can get to compare my Lords of the Fallen playthrough as I play Dāku Souru Tsu. And as I finish my Hex build, hopefully I should be finishing my playthrough of Lords of the Fallen, and then we can make some comparisons and analyze the games one episode at a time, I guess. And then also we've got games like The Evil Within to slow down the pace and give us a sense of urgency with the horror, and it's quite a nice build up towards the end of the year. And of course Final Fantasy, it's just an awesome game, something I can use to relax and usher in the new year, I guess, something you could say. Plans for the new year, I'm not too sure. We'll see about that when it occurs, but more about the Iron King. In the last episode, we were talking about how Gwyn and the old Iron King, well, at least I was talking about how Gwyn and the old Iron King but their souls finally became one, and this gave birth to Icarus Earth. Icarus Earth being the name used in Drying Lake to refer to this king of sunlight. So I'd wanted to just talk about what I feel Icarus Earth is, or what I feel Icarus Earth embodies within the story of the game. Like I said, in the beginning, well, before the beginning, before they were humans, before they were people, when it was just a whole bunch of hollows being suppressed by dragons, the dragons ruled the earth. There was no life, there was no death. It was only just a grey landscape with dragons ruling the surface of the world. So underneath the surface is where these hollows decided to hide away from the dragons. And of all of these, that's when the Lord Vessel was found with this large great soul. And this soul was this soul was in different parts. One part went to Gwyn, one part went to the Witch of Izalith, and so on and so on. But then Gwyn is who we're really focusing on. Gwyn's soul, or at least I can say Gwyn's portion of the soul, must have been very, very large, because he was able to partition his soul and divide it and distribute it to many people, to Seath, the four kings, his children, his knights, his guards, everything, and his family members, relatives, uncles. All these people had a portion of the soul that Gwyn found, and his army. So that means the soul was very large. So by the time Gwyn took a part of the soul for himself, which I would guess was still the majority of the soul, at least 50% of the soul, he had lost at least 50% of the potential power he could have had. But he was still so strong that he was able to rule Lodran and usher in the Age of Light and finally defeat the dragons. So now, what I feel Icarus Earth is, Icarus Earth, I believe, is the summation or the addition of all these partitions of the soul that Gwyn gave away. They all finally came back to one place. And the reason why I say this is because you as the Chosen Undead defeated Gwyn. And you defeated him as he had hollowed, so part of his soul was already gone. By defeating him, you permanently put him out of his misery. You finally killed him and his soul was laid to rest. You also killed the Witch of Izalith, and you also killed everyone else that had a partition of Gwyn's soul. So now, since all these souls are finally laid to rest, part of it, or at least the essence of the soul, it's like practically, yes, you could say that the Chosen Undead still had the souls that he collected from defeating all these enemies. But the essence of the soul, what King Vendrick was trying to figure out, the essence of the soul, the Chosen Undead did not understand. That I totally believe, that the Chosen Undead did not understand the truth about the essence, and he did not peer into the soul, just like what King Vendrick tried to do. So, in that case, the essence of these souls finally faded into life itself and went wherever they came from. So I believe that through all this destruction and death, all the souls that were linked to the soul of Gwyn finally got back to what they were. They finally collected themselves and became one again. And during this was the birth of Icarus Earth. Finally, the one soul that was supposed to be given to one person to make one ultimate being finally was true. And this was Icarus Earth. And hence why Icarus Earth came from the magma. The old Iron King was the final piece of that soul that needed to go back to where it came from, in essence. And that's it. Icarus Earth came. And you, now in Dark Souls 2, are the one who finally defeats Icarus Earth. You finally defeat the great being that belonged to the soul. So I believe that Icarus Earth is the summation of all of Gwyn's parts. They finally came back together. But the thing that I do not understand is, if that is the case, surely there should have been some great importance to this event. Why was Icarus Earth born, and why was it not mentioned by anyone? Well, it was mentioned by the cat, of course, but you would think such an event has some importance, but it's as if everyone in Drang Lake seemed to have just lost their memory. No one knows why they're in Drang Lake and what they're doing there. Everyone seems just lost and confused. I guess you could use that as a reason why no one really understood the importance of the birth of Icarus Earth. No one understood that Jukes de Freya was Seat the Scaleless. No one understood that the Lost Sinner was actually the Witch of Azalith, who had been imprisoned after her failure to do what she was given a task to do, and now she was imprisoned for her failure. And I guess the reason why it's called, the boss itself is called the Lost Sinner, is because I guess in Gwyn's eyes, or in the eyes of the church, her failure to recreate the first flame and creating demons was a sin, because there's no way creating demons in the eyes of the church could have been good in any way, in the way of white. And so for her, she could have been branded a sinner and imprisoned, and that was that. After you finally defeated this amalgamation of her failure, her soul was probably reborn again back to what it originally was, and she was imprisoned by the church that how can I say this, that existed outside of Lordran, like time continued. So I don't know, as things like this, this is part of the reason why I say I wish Lords of the Fallen has staying power within its story and within its gameplay, is because even after so many years, I'm still making so many speculations about the game, about Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. And probably, like for example, what I'm saying could be considered as utter rubbish to someone else. But that's the good thing about it, in the sense that someone else can totally believe in what he wants to believe, and I can believe what I want to believe, and none of us can truly be branded wrong, unless, you're talking utter nonsense. And of which utter nonsense is relative. What's utter nonsense for someone might not be for someone else. So I don't know. I guess I will see you guys in the next episode of this DLC. The next episode should be the last one, of course. Lots of boss fights ahead. Lots of how can I say this? Lots of boss fights, challenging fights, and a lot of running. I'll do a lot of cut editing on the last video, because I think I'll only just show the important bits, as I've talked about as much lore that I obtained from this DLC as possible. Now I'll just be talking about the gameplay and the final bosses themselves, and just a few bits on how to defeat them as easily as possible. But besides that, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you again next time.